Hello and welcome to the Crypto Club and Digital Assets weekly catch-up on Zoom. It is Sunday the 29th of October 2023, and as is always the case, we're going to be talking about whatever we end up talking about. Really depends upon the audience and who shows up. Some weeks we talk about blockchain, DLTs, we talk about legislation, regulation, rules, laws. We talk about DeFi, NFTs, ICOs, STOs, TGs, any of the three-letter acronyms, really. And we like to introduce new people to this area. So if you're a novice and you're just getting into crypto or blockchain and you'd like to understand more, then do come and join us at a future session. There's a link in the comments below. Or if you're an experienced person who's actually running a project or has an initiative they'd like to talk about, come and join us and tell us more about it. In fact, we have our gone in 3-minute sessions, which is where you've got 180 seconds to talk, and it's talk only. You're not allowed to use any PowerPoint presentations or videos or anything. Just talk for 3 minutes about what your project is, what it's doing, what you're looking to achieve, and so on. As long as it's not scamming, phishing, or doing anything dubious, everyone's welcome to talk about their projects. So with that, let's see who's going to come and join us today. Hi, Stephen.
Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday indeed. And the clock's changed in the UK this week as well, so it's a little bit different time zone wise for us as well. I think, remember when we were chatting, was it last week? You're saying, is it, I'm trying to remember where you're based. It was Panama City, wasn't it? Or
Panama City.
Yeah. So anything exciting happened in the last week there?
Sure. There are couple of interesting things that are interesting in Panama. The first is kind of interesting from the geopolitical perspective, and the other one is also kind of geopolitical. I don't know if they're connected. The president of Panama signed a law that has received fairly universal concern. I think it was Law 406 or something like that. It's around mining rights. And there's been a lot of peaceful protesting in the streets around that. And the other interesting thing is that Panama has been removed from the FATF gray list that it has been on since 2019. And that's going to allow for much more business and financial connections throughout the world.
Okay, that sounds pretty good, because that means that it's going to make it easier in terms of sanctions checking and due diligence and KYC and all this kind of thing.
Exactly.
So suddenly Panama could be the place to trade with again.
Yeah, I think so. It's exciting times.
Mm-hmm. So what brought that about, do you think? Is it just that they've been able to prove that they've got the governance in place and the supervision and that kind of thing now?
Yeah. So this wasn't wholly unexpected. It was, I think, back in June or July. There was, I forget who announced that there was going to be an October meeting where it was very likely that Panama was going to get off the list. Apparently, there were like 15 or so specific processes that the FATF was looking at that Panama ensure were happening to ensure that there wasn't money laundering or illicit financing through Panama. So yeah, I mean, honestly, I think Panama is not as corrupt as people think it is. Mm-hmm. I haven't seen too much. I mean, without getting too political, the Canadian firm that's gaining mining rights, I think that's a complicated matter. Clearly, it seems like things were rushed, but I'm not familiar with the politics. But tens of thousands of people have been marching, basically saying, we don't know if this is something that I think the main problem that triggered a lot of people is that it's mining rights for 40 years.
Okay.
And, the median age in Panama is like 30. So talking about, a lifetime of rights being
Yep.
negotiated away. So I think that really upset some folks.
Okay. That's an interesting development. That's good. Hey, just been joined by Simon as well. Hi, Simon. Simon's doing the traditional thing of staying on mute while speaking. There we go.
Of
You're
course
off.
I am. Why would I be different from anybody else?
Exactly. It's such a 2020 thing to say you're on mute these days. I thought everyone had moved on to something along the lines of "Can you see my screen now?" or something like that. That seems to be
Well, I went into a bar a few days ago and walked up to someone and started saying this. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm on mute.
Yes.
Just to be a little bit different.
I
I'm
guess
not quite
not.
sure they got it, but
Yeah, I was going to say not everyone is going to get that still. So that's good. And it looks like we've been joined from Spain with Gabriela as well. Hi, Gabriela. I'm guessing we can see a big letter G on the screen. That's usually Gabriela.
we're on mute and we're on video mute as well.
Never mind. Simon, I don't think, have you been along to one of these sessions previously?
I've tried to come 3 or 4 times, but I've never been able to actually get on. But we've met a few times, as you probably know, at various events and so forth. So here I am finally. I mean, I've got lots to talk about, so you're going to have to shut me up whenever you need to.
Okay. Well, we've got 2 things. The first is I try and run what I'm calling gone in 3 minutes, which is the whole idea of doing a 3-minute pitch on anything you want to talk about. Sorry?
On or gone? I didn't quite hear you.
Yeah, and it should be gone in 3 minutes type thing. So the idea is it's a 3-minute elevator pitch slot that people can use if they want. But they're not allowed to use slides or video or links to sites. It literally is just talking for 3 minutes, which doesn't sound long, and in fact isn't. But particularly not for people who aren't that prepared. So if you want to talk about a particular project, we can play that game certainly. But more than happy if you just want a general chat about stuff as well. But totally open. We've got total international representation here. We've got Stephen in Panama. We've got Gabriela in, if I remember correctly, Madrid. And we've got yourself, Simon, in the UK, I'm assuming.
Yeah, just outside London, near Henry VIII's old palace. Yeah, very much so.
Okay. Cool. So if you'd like to talk, feel free, fire away. Anything in particular you'd like to chat about?
Well, I've got a pitch, a 3-minute pitch. I've got a lot to tell. So and off we go. Start that clock.
Well, tell you what, let me go and dig my phone out, and we'll try and see if we can do this now. I started doing this the other week, and it's quite good fun because it focuses the mind, and it works. So what we will do is in 2 minutes, I'll tell you you've got a minute left. I'll just wave and go 1 minute, if you even notice that. But yeah, Simon, you have got 3 minutes starting from now.
Right. So I'm a technologist, oil industry, been in all sorts of worlds. And then my mother got paralyzed by NHS error. So I started building apps, person-centered care apps. Along came lockdown, business got messy. But of course, I'm well down the crypto and blockchain rabbit hole. So instead of baking cakes, I found a way to put a crypto layer on top of our apps so that you use our apps for healthcare, you get rewarded in ERC20s. So basically, it's a care to earn model. And we've got big care home groups, Sharp, a lot of big partners, but it got messy. I decided to run an ICO to fund the build of our POA blockchain. But just as we launched that, of course, Sam Bankman-Fried did his merry dance and screwed that up. So anyway, so we're building away. We've launched into B2B. We're in lots of care homes, hundreds of care homes. We're NHS approved. RemyLife.com, write it down if you've got a pen. RemyLife.com is the community ecosystem that is live. We haven't launched it yet, but we have about 6 or 7 apps on there that you can use our wallet to be rewarded in. But what happened was about 6 weeks ago, my kids, who are degens, we're talking about Pepe, and I thought, well, if we can't raise money from crypto funders, why don't we launch a meme? So we're launching a meme on this Wednesday, a alien blue cat, which is already our avatar in our apps. Our cat teaches carers how to use our app. So we've taken our existing avatar and turned him into what you can see on the screen, Bluey. Into an alien cat. And if you go to bluey.io, you'll see a wild and wacky world that is true meme but it's the world's first utility meme. And we have a big following. We have about 5,000 followers. We've already launched, but we got murdered during the launch. We got to 13 million turnover in 7 hours, 5,000 community. And it grew very fast. But because we were beginners at the game, we got murdered, to be honest. But we found we've got a lot of supporters, big names, big influencers, Wendy O, people like that, who love what we're doing, i.e. we're not a pump and dump. We're here for the long term too. I mean, you know, there's 2 dogs and a frog up there. Where's the cat? Where's the cat? It's ridiculous. So 2 dogs, a frog and a cat is our mantra, which is out there. So if you have any interest in healthcare, mental health, social impact projects, DAOs, and that world, take a look at remylife.com. And if you think the world of memes is a fun, creative world full of community, and that's what we're all about, community for mental health and supporting those with difficulties, then go to bluey.io and join us on Wednesday at 3:00 and have some fun, because it will pump, it will dump, but it will pump again, and it will raise money for what we're doing, which is building a POA blockchain for healthcare. So mad stuff had to be done. We're doing it.
There we go. Spot on 3 minutes. Very, very nicely done that, Simon. Very, very good. And something a little bit different. And I like the way you threw in the URLs as well for people to go and check out. So blui.io. It shows us one. And what was the Remy?
Remy Life. Romeo, okay. Echo, Mike, Echo, remylife.com. And if you want to see the whole underlying blockchain project and read a 100-page white paper, then you should go to remylife.io, which, you know, is the nuts and bolts of the whole thing.
Cool. That was really good. So I'll throw it open to the audience, really. I don't know if Stephen or Gabrielle, you got any questions or anything from that?
Sure. You know, I'm always one of the things that is always interesting is how do you view the path towards adoption? Like, how do you see the flywheel of adoption for the project? And do you have any thoughts on that, or is it really driving the meme?
Yeah, no, we have a B2B app, and that app has been in 1,000 care homes, but we got murdered during COVID, and then we lost our software team because they were in the Ukraine. We lost our CTO because he died from a COVID injection. We've been through hell. So we then decided to sort of backtrack for a while, and I took the time to really explore the potential of crypto to do what I've just said, which is be a rewards-based layer, because carers don't make any money. Ridiculous. They can't pay their electricity bills, and yet their data is making everyone in Silicon Valley rich. So we capture data and monetize it. We're partners with Consensus. It was Vitalik Buterin when I met him, when I said to him, you know, what's coming next? And he said, well, I'd love to see crypto in healthcare. And I went off and thought, well, you know what? I'm going to have a go at this. So to answer your question, we're already in the B2B space. And every care home we go in brings us about 500, 600 users of remylife.com. And we've got 20,000 carers on our database who we will in the next few weeks show and present the world of crypto. We'll make it easy for them to participate. Not in Bluey, probably, because that's a meme, and I don't think I necessarily want to expose carers to the world of memes, because you've got to understand that it's gambling, it's horse racing, it's whatever you want to call it. But we launched Remy Life as an ICO effectively in Q2 when the bull run comes, which is, God knows it's supposed to. So at that point, we'll get large scale adoption. But the joy of the meme community is it's a community. They're so creative. They're so vibrant. 68% of them have got mental health issues, as we know the whole world does. So all these degens, suddenly it's fascinating watching their conversion. They go from rah, let's fucking go, to, oh my God, this could help my brother who's got autism. It's a fascinating conversion.
So when you talk about the healthcare side of things,
yeah,
in the United States, there are many regulations around data privacy, and I'm sure NHS has similar. So in the US, it's the HIPAA regulations.
Mm-hmm.
Are you just in the UK market, or are you looking at international markets as well?
we have no choice but to be international, because the very nature of what Remy Life does is provide social connectivity from families wherever they are, from communities wherever they are. We're very fortunate in that what we do is HIPAA compliant. In other words, we fall under the HIPAA ceiling. And our partners, Consensus, are taking us into the US, and we have big ambitions, obviously, for the US. So no, we're HIPAA compliant. Our data set is personal data and is more of a concern with regard to data. And, we're GDPR compliant, and GDPR is stringent, and the US respects it. So we expect there's going to be need for our regulatory advisors to dot I's and cross T's, but we're not dealing with healthcare data. Our data is personal data. We've created a new data set called electronic life records, which is kind of a new data set, but it's all that stuff that enables improved well-being, likes, dislikes, moods, habits, family, life story, past demographics, hobbies, these sorts of things. And these are critical in the care process, the person-centered care process. But they, as you pointed out, they're more GDPR than they are HIPAA.
It's fantastic. It sounds great. I had some exposure to multiple aspects of healthcare projects. I was recently on a Veterans Affairs Administration project in the US. So fascinating space. Congrats.
That is really interesting, because that is one of the organizations we are soon to start working with.
Congratulations.
Very, very big organization. And if you know them, you'll know who they're working with in the space that we're all talking about. I've got to be very careful. I'm under an NDA.
I'm not.
Okay.
So you probably, it's a lot of the healthcare space is super interesting. There's an organization called x12.org that sets some standards for the space. Oracle recently acquired a company called Cerner.
Yeah.
And Cerner has been a quite capable player in the healthcare space. There's just it's a huge tapestry of stuff.
Well, we know Cerner very well, because Cerner are the rival of EMIS, who manage all the UK GP doctors' records, and we are EMIS friends, let's put it that way. In fact, we were the ones that helped them understand blockchain, believe it or not, when it first came out. And they ended up acquiring some friends of ours called Dovetail, who are funded by Innovate. So it's a long story there, but I've been involved in blockchain since 2017, and I gave talks on blockchain and healthcare and supply chain, and and Geneva and Davos and Malta and all the rest, but never dived in because I was too busy building my own apps until COVID gave me the time, basically. So we've been on a long runway. We've got a long way to go still, but it's a very exciting opportunity. There's no doubt about it. Very exciting.
Awesome.
Sounds excellent. Look forward to learning more as it becomes more open and that kind of thing. That's good. Just noticed we've been joined by Animesh as well, Day Animesh, which it did actually have a company logo on it a minute ago. You want to say hi?
Hi, Gary. Yeah.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks. We were just chatting about various things, and Simon was kindly talking about the project that he's working on at the moment. I don't know what brings you along today. Do you have a particular interest or anything you'd like to share?
Oh, yeah. I'm a founder and CEO of a company called Currency Network. So we work in CBDC actually. So yeah, we are UK based, and we have developed a complete ecosystem product. So the first implementation we done with the Swiss National Bank. So Project Tourbillon, you might have heard under BIS. That was the one we are doing. And some more project with BIS we are doing with other central banks as well.
And by BIS, you mean the Bank of International Settlements?
That's right. That's
right. So for those who don't know all the initials, that
sorry.
No, it's one of these things that we get different people at different levels, and we're always talking in abbreviations and acronyms and this kind of thing. So sometimes I take a step back and say, just to check, this kind of thing. So that's interesting then, if you're working on the central bank side of things. Because my understanding is that certainly in the UK, that they're just doing an exploratory exercise really for a couple of years. But one of the key things that's come out of the paper that Bank of England have produced is about the opportunity to have effectively wallet providers.
Yeah.
Is that effectively the space that you're going to be operating in?
Yeah, it's a multiple thing, and I think a lot of people don't know actually that the Bank of England is actually is definitely doing CBDC, and will have it for sure, 100%. They have more than 50 people, and all sort of technologies are being done. So there would be cash-like privacy, which we are very much specialized in actually. So that they're going to bring that technology as well. They don't have it at this point of time. They're doing something like Project Rosalind or something.
What's the name of your company, Animesh? Sorry, I didn't catch the name of your company.
Currency Network.
Currency Network.
Yeah.
Thank you. So are you, if I may ask, are you helping banks in the UK and the Bank of England do what the US has done, which is bring in, I think it's called Swift Pay, which is a fast transaction process. Is that right? To sort of start the CBDC process?
No, that's just the US catching up with digital payment systems.
Yeah.
Well, they say it's a stealth introduction to banks. I mean, that's the rumor I've heard, to have data, blockchain data transparency take place between banks, and it's not the case.
So as I understand it, it's not using any blockchain type technology. It is just a digital payments mechanism, which kind of replicates what we've got in Europe and elsewhere with likes of faster payments and that kind of thing. I think it's just the US playing catch up, and it's quite surprising at times because we always think that the US is at the bleeding edge of technology, and then you realise they're only just adopting touch to pay and this kind of thing. So they're not always ahead. I know some people did say that the new system that they were introducing, whether it was Fed Now or whatever it was, that they were saying, oh yeah, this is all CBDC type stuff. But I don't believe it was. It was just a payment gateway. I don't know, Simon or Stephen, or anyone knows any more about that.
Yeah, I mean, Gary, I just to give you some background, I spent about 20 years in payments in UK. I worked with most of the banks here, HSBC, Lloyds, and all of that. And I was chief architect of payments before starting my company. So I understand the space. To give you a brief background, whatever the payment system you're talking about. So FedNow is actually was suggested by Google few years back when Google actually did this implementation in India, UPI. So as a simplified system, and then that. So India is hugely benefited. So that's why then they said, okay, the Fed didn't have the real-time transaction system. So this is the case of Fed now is a kind of replica of UPI. So but those are all commercial bank money. So that is nothing to do with CBDC, to make it very clear. And CBDC is a central bank money. Of course, the US will not do it now. The only reason is that US get a lot of benefit out of crypto. So if you think it through, let's say the countries who do not have confidence on their currency, they will invest on crypto, all the people, and that money will go through the exchange to US, land there. And then there's FTX or whoever or Terra Luna will go bust. And then all of the money is poured inside US. Elon Musk will do some manipulation. He will get $1 billion in his company. So this is an economic extractive system we have created. So some people get benefited. So US will do essentially eventually, because when the CBDC islands will be created, because the cross-border money transfer, it's become so much easier. So either way, but I was in cross-border payment for many times. So SWIFT and all of those things I'm working with. So US will do eventually, but at this point of time, there is no urgency. But if you see this thing, the countries who are literally bleeding out of these lot of things, the particularly developing countries, they will do CBDC first. So that's why you see that. For example, if you think about
well, Nigeria's already done it, hasn't it? Nigeria deployed a CBDC.
yeah, because
recently.
they have a very similar problem. All the Nigerians were buying cryptos like crazy. And then they are trying hard to stop with the central bank, but then it's gonna take long time because you cannot just switch off the physical currency. And the other problem, Simon, is that
why is it a problem that people in countries are buying crypto? Is it right that governments want to stop it
if you think
CBDCs?
Correct. So if you think every country has the monetary policy, right? So with the monetary policy, they actually control their economy. The monetary policy has got three things: your capital inflow, outflow, your exchange rate, and your interest rate. Crypto has the potential to disturb all of them. So literally, they can screw up your monetary policy. Like a huge bit of transaction you can do through crypto. You can completely bypass your country, and then your country gets screwed. So that is the reason the countries are blocking crypto one by one. Literally, crypto in a way you can, yeah. So that's the thing.
But is crypto dead?
Yeah, sorry.
Is crypto dead? Will crypto be dead because we've got all these countries coming in one by one? Or will decentralization win?
So the way I see the fact, I do not have any opinion. What I see is that eventually these countries are introducing frictions, and there is no promotion. So eventually, if you keep on introducing frictions, you and I know what might happen.
I don't think that, I have a contrary opinion.
Of course.
I
do not have an opinion. I'm just telling the fact.
Yeah. So what I've seen, and from my perch, I'm in the largest country without central banking, Panama. And we recently had a digital banking conference here. And one of the things that, was discussed were things like the banking industry architecture network. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this framework. It's an international framework for digitizing or creating better functionality for banks, APIs on top of traditional banking infrastructure. This works in conjunction with ACTUS, the algorithmic contract types for financial settlements. These underlying APIs and protocols are being used to facilitate some of the stuff that you're doing. And the JP Morgans, the Citibanks, the Accentures, the IBMs, they're all nudging the banking industry towards digital assets, real-world assets, and better efficiencies. While it may be true that there may be some headwinds.
So what you are saying, that has nothing to do with crypto, firstly.
My point is that they are going crypto, but they are taking. They need to modernize their tech stack
there's a
before they can do
misconception
crypto.
here. So when we're talking about cryptography, right? So anything we are securing some piece of a bit of string. Okay, I just code, literally I do coding, so I'm just explaining, okay, some bit of code you are using cryptography so that other people cannot decrypt, and you have a mechanism. Okay, so now cryptocurrency as such, in a sense, CBDC is also a cryptocurrency in that way, right? And then stablecoin is also cryptocurrency. A token is also cryptocurrency is that way. So what you are saying here is about how do you then control it. So the countries, every country want the same cryptocurrency. It's their own currency, and then they actually make it legal tender. So that's what the CBDC, right? Now, what I was talking about, I was nothing talking about technology. I was talking about the business. Okay, so every country is a business. So if a country is what they're saying, okay, so we want to use cryptocurrency because it's making our payment cheaper, faster, financial inclusion, all of that. So how do I control it? Control my business. So that's what's happening now. So they see if their currency business, because every country is as good as their financial policy. And so that's why the advanced countries are even though they do not have like Switzerland, if you think about all those ECB, if you think about, they do not have much problem about financial inclusion as such, but still they are doing, because there are a lot of many other reasons, because with this cryptocurrency CBDC, you can actually control your monetary policy. You can do many things. So it's about business. It's not about technology as such. And these countries now want to control their business. That's what I think.
I think it's both. I think, I'm a technologist. I look at the blockchain ecosystem as something that provides fundamental capability to the hands of people. And, when you think about things from a decentralized perspective, the state actors don't have as much control and power as they would have in the past. You can't put the toothpaste back in the bottle. There are some places where technology will not be outlawed. And, from that perspective, I think banking will use CBDCs. I think they will modernize their tech stack so that they can better participate in, the blockchain crypto marketplaces. But you suggested that these restrictions would slow down things. I don't think that that's going to be true. I think what's going to happen is, projects like Bluey and other NFT projects that are in places where they can thrive will find greater adoption. There's crypto from the perspective of a digital asset, buying and selling, and staking or not staking, and it's a financial instrument. But when you look at it from a decentralized platform, we can build better applications, better self-sovereign identity systems, better all sorts of better things that are better than what we had with Web 1 and Web 2. I think that unlocks a future that is necessary. When you start to think about how we are going to manage decentralized science projects, manage AI models, and all the rich data that we're creating everywhere in the world, we need blockchain technologies. So CBDC is just one aspect of things, but the overall blockchain networks that we're creating today are going to make a huge difference.
Absolutely true. And I'm going to chip in here because I think people, when they hear the word decentralization, tend to think, oh, DeFi and money. But the reality of decentralization is that it empowers communities. And if there's one thing the world needs now, is for communities to be empowered. In the UK, the only effective area of the NHS is where it's decentralized, where there is autonomous control in a county. So decentralization, in other words, communities, proves itself again and again and again to be a more effective way of managing a smaller economy. And that's where blockchain can be empowered. And what worries me about CBDCs is that they are about centralization, and they will try and dismantle that ability for communities to actually self-govern themselves, because it's contrary to the interests of the elite, whether it's the FATF or the World Economic Forum or whoever it may be. They are more concerned about controlling smart cities through using blockchain for data transference, rather than empowering smaller communities to self-govern, to self-autonomize. And it's that clash that we're witnessing right now, but we very rarely hear articulated in a sort of proper manner. It's terrifying to me that blockchain is going to be kidnapped through centralized processes. And this is a very interesting discussion, but not where I expected to go tonight. But,
so Simon, I'd offer, coming back on your point, really, because you were asking initially from that, about whether crypto is going to die as a result of all this kind of thing. And taking on board Animesh's point that central bank digital currencies are cryptographically secured digital currencies, but that's not quite what people think of when we talk about cryptocurrency, which is typically
it's a different business model, Gary.
Yeah,
it's just a different business model. If you think about central bank digital currency, central bank has the only authority to actually issue the currency. And whereas in the decentralized world, DeFi world, we say, okay, any miner can actually mine the cryptocurrency. So that's the business model is different. And if you think about our financial system, the way it works so far is all about the money. Only Bank of England can print the money. You and me cannot print the money, and that is happening. It's only that part. Our credit market or two-tier banking infrastructure, the way it works, is not changing. It's just the physical currency getting digital. That's what it is happening.
But that's the thing that I was going to say, Simon, again, to his point, that one won't replace the other because they actually are different solutions for different purposes. And CBDCs will definitely grow in terms of an infrastructure for making government controlled, and I'll use the word control very loosely, but a government managed system. But that doesn't mean that the desire to have a censorship resistant, anonymous, or at least pseudo-anonymous capability goes away. So
So I'll just give you 1 second here. So the anonymity and the transactions, so the technology we have in today's world in the CBDC will give you as good as cash-like privacy in the physical transaction. Not only that, in the digital world also you will get a cash-like privacy. So those things are not changing. There are some misinformation in the market that thinking about, this could be a tool for mass surveillance. Come on, government and the MI6 and and then CIA has got many other things too if they want to know somebody. And then central bank is not interested what you and me are doing. It's about the macroeconomic scenario, what is happening in particular places, how people are spending. And based on that, they can inform decision about the economic policy. That's what this is important for them. The physical currency is there for a long time. All the banks has gone digital, so that's why banks are very intelligent, commercial banks, whereas central bank is not.
Sorry, I have to disagree with that. I actually warned this was going to happen. By the way, hello everyone. Sorry.
Hey, JT.
Yeah, I warned everyone. I actually spoke first about CBDC in 2017-18, and people thought I was crazy, and I was saying Chinese preparing it. Okay, so I have to disagree with you because if they didn't have, programmable money is really, really bad. Okay, programmable payments is fantastic, and if they didn't have that, how should I say, a destination, of control, the way they plan with CBDC, almost all of the money is digital anyway. So why didn't they continue just with digital money? They could just anybody can create a wallet. It doesn't have to be blockchain, crypto, whatever. They could continue just with the digital money that we have these days. Only a few countries like Germany, where the society is still about 65 to 70% actually cash, are using money. All of us are using just numbers, majority of us, So I totally disagree with that. This is a form of control. And if they were not threatened by it, they wouldn't have done what they're doing to Bitcoin. Because as much as people want to say, the CIA and these, they're capable. Of course they have. If you are a target, you personally, you are a target, you have no chance, But, in terms of mass surveillance, when you start to have systems with support of blockchain, it doesn't matter, monetary systems, communications, whatever, that have that support in the back end, they don't have control because they can't see the transactions. They can target you today because they can go to the current system and see your Visa transactions. Everything goes through SWIFT. Where is SWIFT? In the US. So they can track you. They can use those data points to your email, to your phone number, and track you that way. If they lose that capability to trace money, then they, it becomes really hard for them, extremely hard. So I totally disagree. CBDC, programmable money, CBDC is for control, nothing else. Okay?
Well, I'm a living experience of that. I have 3 developers in Nigeria, and they can't function properly because of the data requirements of CBDC over there.
100%.
And it's nightmare. And let me tell you, I've launched a meme token, which you can see advertised, bluey.io there. 2 of my banks have shut me down. They will not let me buy ETH on Coinbase.
Mm-hmm.
I won't say who the banks are, and 3 of my investors, I've got some whales involved, they've had their bank accounts shut down. So this control is already manifesting itself. They're already trying to eradicate our right to use crypto in a decentralized manner. Just experienced it last week. It can't be a coincidence.
So Simon, that was the thing I was telling you. So this is a systematic instrument just to block the crypto. That's objective is one of the objective of CBDC is there. And I was telling you why. Because an economy if an economy need to function, they need to control the capital inflow outflow, interest rate. And
why don't they get their own house in order first? I mean, the last crash was 2008.
That probably not in my house, not in my hand.
Millions.
That's central banking policy.
And Max, you can laugh. You can laugh as much as you like. I've lost millions of pounds because of banking fraud 3 times in my life. I've been a multi-millionaire, and 3 times, twice it's gone to the High Court, twice I've had a settlement of multi-millions, and twice the High Court has just quashed it in the way they have the right to do to protect the elite. I've lived this shit. And in 2008, same thing happened again. Did anyone go to prison for those frauds? No. So my view would be, instead of focusing on little people like us who are just trying to build, in my case, social impact to help people with autism, that's what I'm doing, helping kids with autism pay their electricity bills. Instead of attacking me, why not get your own house in order? And do I have to give you a litany? I mean, there's Deutsche Bank. I mean, you can go on and on and on. It's non-stop. Barclays Bank with its PIP. It's just one fraud after another. And it seems to me that CBDC just enables banks to do another Evergrande. We all know what happened when poor Chinese had their mortgages. You know the whole story, what happened when the banks just shut down the life of those people who objected to Evergrande's fraud, which was managed through a digital process. So I'm not interested in disruption or anarchy at all, but I am interested in the freedom to be able to operate within a community environment. And I'm not happy with the way it's going. And, the way you voice it, you seem to be protectionist towards a decrepit and corrupt system. That's my view, personally.
So no. These are all very, very good arguments. So what happened if you think of it, Simon? Like let's say think about, let's say 1830. I'll give you an example. 1830 in American history. So that time there was 150. These are very specific numbers, and then I will give you that particular things as well. So when it started, they are all printing the notes, all the physical notes throughout Europe. By 1837, there was 374 banks. They're all printing notes of their own, all the different notes. And if you think about, the situation was very similar like the cryptocurrencies. Like, we are having one, and then we have multiple cryptocurrencies. And then there's a whole system failed because people could not figure out which note was genuine, which was not. And then ultimately that gave rise to FIAT in early 1900. This was the history. And when I thought about crypto, I thought the very, very, very similar thing happening is the people like you trying to do good things. But if you think the other way, the other people that are doing a lot of bad thing in it. So that, and ultimately people are central bank, thinking, now we have to control it. It has gone like more than, I think about 4 trillion was gone into crypto, right? And they was trying to control it. So for me, I'm not supporting any bad act as such. No, what I'm trying to do, I think that any country, if we wants to excel, they need to control their monetary policy, and CBDC is a tool. And my purpose is to support that.
Simon, you can come back off mute. I just popped you on mute because it was getting some feedback there.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm all for regulation. I'm not in. I mean, I'm in the meme world now, which is not where I expected to be. But I love the community aspect, and it's a very underrated world because it's creative. People know what they're getting into. It's no different from walking into a racetrack or a casino. You're gambling, but you're gambling on an intellectual basis. I'm in the meme world, but it's full of some dodgy actors, as I've just experienced. So I'm all for regulation. What I'm not for is for control. I don't think control is necessary in the society we've got. And the control that we're seeing manifest daily around us is not to assist us, but to constrain us. I'll tell you a story, okay? You just quoted a bit of history. During the COVID lockdown, I did three things. I studied the financial world to find out what the fuck was going on and why I kept getting bankrupted by banks, which is what happened to me, number one. Number two, I looked into healthcare in depth because that's my space. And what I did, I studied the world of healthcare in the 1900s during the Industrial Revolution, because that's what we're going through right now, a revolution, whether it's AI or blockchain. In the 1900s, what I found was friendly societies. I don't know if you know what a friendly society is, but in the 1900s, they rekindled something that had been around before. There was miners, there was the working classes basically were not making much money. They were slaves to an industrial machine. So what they did was they got together, let's say a mining community, and they would take 3 days of their salary, put it in a pot, and a bloke would sit in the pub having negotiated discount beer, and he would negotiate doctors, engagements, insurance relationships. He would manage the needs of that community with a pot of money that the community gave him. Within 2 years, I think it was 40% of the working class world around the world was self-managing its existence. That's a little known statistic. And do you know what happened? After 4 years, the British government, the House of Lords, stood up and said, we can't have the middle classes not being able to manage the lower classes. And they shut it down. They centralized everything. And we all know what came out of that, the centralized collapsing NHS. So that's a classic example. And I looked at that and I went, this is a DAO. This is basically a DAO. This is a local community. One bloke at the minute in the middle, he's never going to defraud anyone because he's in the pub and he'll get beaten up. And why would he? They're all his mates. You've got a community which is managing their lives brilliantly. They had great healthcare, discount beer, insurance, blah, blah, blah. That's what we should be doing. We should be providing mechanism, using technology to support these worlds, whether it's a local authority, I can go on, as opposed to what you're doing, which is making the possibility of the FATF controlling us, or the World Economic Forum stealing all our smart city data and shoving it back at us. You're just initiating control, and not a beneficial control.
Yes, I agree with Simon, because look, if you look back in history here, you don't need to be like a history buff, you just need really to understand a bit of history. Anytime there was some sort of control, humans just abuse, it's a human nature. We're greedy, a great percentage is corrupt because they want to do better than others. We are violent, and yet it always ends up in wars. It's as simple as that, because everybody wants more power, and there's nothing on the CBDCs being created at the moment that is just for payments. Everything else, I mean, if you have a central power to decide that someone or everyone needs to spend their money in 3 months, I mean, is that normal? Of course not. Going back to what you said, Simon, about communities, just a reminder to everyone, that's how crypto started. It was the Bitcoin. It was early communities, okay, cyberpunks, Adam Back was one of them. Many of all the original team from Satoshi they were all cyberpunks. The community got together, people start to run nodes, and it just went from there, and it still continues. So I think both can coexist. And in fact, when we're talking about corruption here, almost every single every single agency, institution out there says Bitcoin is great and crypto is great because they can track back every single transactions, which they can't do in fiat money. And that's why all the money goes through the cartels and ends up in London being washed. I mean, there was many TV documentaries, including one from BBC just before COVID. That was shocking, all the money going through the fiat system, and they know who they are. The thing is, they actually know who they are, and they don't do anything to these banks. So I think a CBDC should exist, should be for payments, and that's it, nothing else. Programmable CBDC, programmable money is terrible, absolutely terrible. It's the ultimate way of controlling people. It's as simple as that.
And I think that there is room for both, isn't there? I think everyone's making valid points, and there is actually some validity towards Animesh developing solutions that enable CBDCs, and that's for a simple reason. When I go into Starbucks at the moment, and I occasionally use cash, which admittedly I don't very often these days, there's an assumption that if I hand over a £10 note, or in the States a $10 bill or whatever, there's an assumption that the people behind the till are going to accept it as being worth £10. Okay? And the reason that we accept that fiat currency is worth what it is because there are enough people who perceive it to be worth what it is. And that's purely it. And that perception is provided by governments with tanks and weapons and whatever, defending the value of that currency. But that does provide it with the stability type thing. Whereas with crypto at the moment, as we all know, you could start buying a cup of Americano for 0.000 whatever BTC. By the time it actually goes through on the payment, it's changed. So there is a role for centrally bank controlled digital currencies. There is a thing because you do need that stability. I agree, however, absolutely. JT and I have discussed this in the past, that the ability to have programmable payments is fantastic. There's all sorts of efficiencies can be gained there. Once it becomes programmable money, however, and that means a government can switch it off at a flick of a switch, that's a different story. And we've seen, in Canada, just, was it 18 months ago, with the Canadian truckers, where the government said that the truckers were doing something, even though it wasn't technically illegal, they had their accounts frozen. So I get it, where we don't want our money to be programmable, because we don't want the ability to have it switched on. We don't necessarily want it to be tracked and traced and whatever. We want true digital cash, which is where it's anonymous, and if I've got it in my hand, you can't stop me from using it type thing. But there is room for both sides of it. And the world financial systems operate because they've got control systems. It's not, and I get, Simon, I get your point as well about in the UK, I think a lot of them were actually called mutuals, because that's how a lot of cooperative bank was originally mutual, and there are a number of insurance companies that say, very much as you say, it was community based. So I think I'm seeing a growth in that again, which is being led by crypto type things. And that's where I'm looking forward to the technology behind the likes of DAOs and that maturing sufficiently, and the people behind them maturing sufficiently for that to actually be viable options. So I went through the crazy heyday of ICOs in 2017, 2018, where that was the way to raise money and everything. And that was all about communities developing and all about them getting ripped off or it all going wrong in some ways. So I'm hoping we'll see a resurgence.
There was no controls at that time, there's no regulations. But if you look really well, I just hope Sunak and the government does the same thing or something similar. If you look at the MiCA, or MiCA, whatever you want to call it, in Europe, it's going to create a total revolution because anyone can launch a token.
Yeah.
The regulations are there. You can launch a token. Okay, as long as you have a prototype, an MVP, there's a few things that you need to have. You cannot just have a deck. it's legal to actually launch a token in any European country, you know. Furthermore, you know, anybody can launch a stable coin, but the regulations there are a lot more stricter. So there's already 8 banks in Europe preparing to launch their stable coin. Just imagine the combination of those two things is going to create all around Europe, you know, and it's going to attract a lot of people from all over the world to come to Europe as those things start to kick in. So I think one of the things that let me just go back to what you said, we can coexist. In 2019, I don't know if some of you guys remember, there was a very big conference called CC Forum where Craig Stephen Wright was there and so on and so on. There was, you know,
it was a good conference. Yeah,
I was on stage talking about CBDCs, and everybody thought I was crazy. That was my 3rd talk about that. Okay, and I put a screen on stage. Actually, there is, I think, a YouTube video of that, where I say, you know, all the cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, etc., all the other CBDCs can coexist as a side chain, yeah, of the main chain, you know, that the government, the bank creates, the UK, whatever, or the European Central Bank, whatever central bank, you know, can coexist as a side chain attached to the digital currency of the country, you know, because that way enables, you know, one thing, everybody can be identifiable if they need to issue. So, you know, because to be able to do ramp off and ramp on to crypto, everything could be trackable through the side chain. It's a solution out there without creating all of this programmable money and trying to end crypto. I mean, all of them can coexist. It's so easy to implement this type of side chains for any cryptocurrency out there or for any other stable coins and do a straight swap, you know, and maintain through a DLT all the trackable features that a blockchain or a DLT has, you know.
Thanks, folks. I'm conscious we're whizzing through time here. We've only got a couple of minutes left before we close off for the day. So I don't know if anyone's got anything else that they just want to quickly mention before we close off, any news or views or anything.
Well, I'm going to obviously plug bluey.io, which launches on Wednesday. But it launches with a lot of supporters of the caliber of the 2 we've been talking to here. I've been amazed by those who have spotted that what we're trying to do is to use the community in the meme world beneficially for their own benefit, but also to sort of stand up and be counted in the way we've been talking about. Because you said it earlier on, JT, this is how blockchain started. This is how Bitcoin started with cyberpunks. And the only cyberpunks you've got left, quite frankly, because blockchain has been kidnapped by big bucks and banks, all you've got left is a community in the meme world who are still passionate about, well, doing things peer-to-peer, if you want to put it that way. So it's been a fascinating experience for me. I mean, I'm a professional. I find myself in a world of degens. They've branded me Gramps. I'm 67 years old. As they put it, I'm the oldest bastard in crypto, which is great. I mean, I love it. I'm having fun. So if you want a bit of fun, there's my pitch. Go to bluey.io Wednesday and, you know, join the fun, join the battle.
I think Simon just did another 3-minute pitch there in 2 minutes.
Yeah,
well done. Okay, folks, we're gonna have to close off there because it's on the hour. And we try. So thank you everyone for joining us today. Stephen, welcome back again. Simon, great listening to what you're talking about. JT, as always. Gabrielle, staying quiet, trying to work out what on earth she's listening to today. And Animesh, you know, totally support the stuff that you're working on. It's really interesting insight as well. And as I was saying, there is room for both, and it's not necessarily all about complete control because we do need some financial stability at times. So thanks everyone for coming along today. Anyone who's watching on YouTube later on, click on subscribe, or even better, as everyone did today, come and join us at a future session. Have a great day, folks. Bye now.
Thanks, guys.